Hello, dear my friends. Welcome back to another episode of Dieu Han's Journey. We hope you're all doing well today. Where are you watching from? Let us know in the comments. It's always amazing to see our little community growing across the world. If this story has touched you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to support the channel. Today's episode is soft but emotional about gratitude, exhaustion, and the quiet comfort of a friend. Dieu Han's body still felt heavy from the fever. Her arms, her legs, even her breath, they all seemed slower than usual. But her mind wasn't resting. It kept returning to Yen, the friend who once gave her shelter when she had nowhere to go. That kind of kindness lives forever in the heart. Even now, Dieu Han wished she could do more to repay it, though her body begged for rest. After the long walk and the dizzy spell in the sun, Dan's sudden appearance felt like a miracle. He didn't ask for details. He didn't push. He simply showed up, held her steady, and said he'd take her home. Sometimes, the most powerful gesture is presence. Dieu Han had grown used to silence and solitude, but that day, silence shared with someone felt completely different. As the motorbike sped through the quiet countryside, Dieu Han leaned slightly against Dan's back. Not out of romance, but because she simply couldn't sit upright anymore. And maybe, just maybe, because it felt safe. The breeze cooled her burning cheeks, and she closed her eyes for a moment, trying to gather herself. The hum of the engine, his calm presence, it all gave her the space to breathe. Neither of them spoke much during the ride. Dan would glance back now and then, checking if she was okay. She noticed that Dan, for once, it made her feel seen, truly seen. In this quiet moment, her heart softened. Maybe strength didn't always mean carrying everything alone. Maybe, sometimes, it meant allowing someone to help when you need it most. They reached her small home just as the sun dipped low. Dan helped her down from the bike with gentle hands. Dieu Han offered a tired smile, grateful beyond words. Before stepping inside, she looked at him, 1,000 unspoken thoughts in her eyes. But all she said was, "Thank you." Sometimes, that's all that's needed. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. This journey is far from over. Rain fell hard that day. The kind that soaks through clothes in seconds, chilling the bones. The woman, no longer a child but still young, wandered through back streets, her eyes scanning for food, shelter, anything. Hunger had dulled her senses. She had no umbrella, only her thin, torn jacket. In her hand, a wet piece of bread she'd found half buried beneath a plastic bag. It wasn't much, but it was all she had. She'd seen that tin-roofed shack before. A quiet corner behind an abandoned warehouse. It wasn't much, but it was dry. She ran toward it, her soaked sandals slapping the muddy ground. The cold bit into her skin. Just as she stepped under the roof, a voice shouted, angry, harsh. The owner stormed out, yelling at her to leave. No reasons, no questions. Just get out. Her legs moved before her heart could react. Tears blurred her vision, mixing with rain. She didn't know where to go next. Her world was a maze of closed doors and angry voices. No one wanted her. No one remembered the young woman Dieu Han had once helped on the street. She pulled a broad banana leaf from the side of a ditch, folding it over her head. It wasn't shelter, but it made her feel less exposed, less forgotten. She wandered again, her steps slow and heavy. Her belly ached with emptiness, her throat dry despite the rain. Every puddle looked like a mirror reflecting a face she didn't recognize anymore. Somewhere deep inside, she still remembered Dieu Han's warm eyes, the taste of clean water, the softness of bread not stolen or tossed. But that was a different life. A different woman. And now, no one was coming back. The rain didn't stop. It felt like time itself, slow, relentless. She shifted slightly under the edge of a sagging awning, just enough to keep her head dry. The rest of her was soaked through. She hugged her knees, shivering. Strangers passed without seeing her, or worse, looked straight through her. In that moment, it wasn't the cold that hurt, it was the invisibility. As if she never existed. A child giggled in the distance, sheltered under a bright umbrella. She watched as the mother held the child close, careful not to let the rain touch them. Her chest ached. Once, maybe long ago, she too had someone who shielded her. Now, even the memory felt distant. She reached out her hand, palm open, catching droplets as if trying to remember what warmth used to feel like. The sky darkened as afternoon faded. Her wet clothes clung like a second skin, heavy and cold. She looked down at her feet, caked with mud. Each toe stung from exposure. The piece of bread she'd carried earlier had disintegrated, lost somewhere in the puddles. Her stomach grumbled, a deep, hollow sound. She pressed a hand to it, as if she could quiet the by sheer will. She stood up again, slow and shaky. Her legs barely held her weight. The headache came in waves now, pressing against her skull like crashing tides. Every breath stung. She knew this wasn't just fatigue, it was illness, a cold that had sunk deep into her bones. But still, she walked, because stopping meant surrender, and no one was coming to rescue her. Her path led her along a deserted road, puddles reflecting the pale sky. The world felt enormous and unbearably small. She remembered the kindness of one stranger, once, a woman named Dieu Han. That warmth had sustained her longer than she realized. But kindness fades when hunger returns. When pain becomes louder than memory. She passed by closed shops, their metal doors rusted and unwelcoming. Her shoulders sagged with each step. She didn't cry anymore. Tears had long dried up, used in nights far darker than this one. All she had now was movement, one foot, then another. A woman carrying nothing but a fever. A name forgotten by many, and a memory she wasn't sure was real. At last, daily returned, a narrow bend she vaguely recognized. Her body finally gave in, folding to the ground like a shadow losing shape. She didn't care who saw her now. She didn't care about the cold. She just wanted rest. Just a moment without pain. Her fingers brushed the ground as her mind whispered the name one last time, Dieu Han. The narrow alley was quiet, damp with fading mist. As Dieu Han turned the corner, something on the ground made her stop. A young woman lay curled near the wall, soaked from head to toe. Her clothes clung to her like paper. No movement, no sound. Dieu Han's breath caught. Slowly, cautiously, she stepped closer. The sight gripped her heart, a familiar figure from a painful memory. This wasn't a coincidence. Her footsteps echoed louder now, with worry. Dieu Han's hands trembled as she touched the girl's forehead, burning. The fever was worse than she thought. Rain still fell lightly, and the girl's soaked clothes clung to her like second skin. Without thinking, Dieu Han took off her own scarf and wrapped it around the girl. Her throat tightened. How long had she been out here, all alone? What if she hadn't come this way today? The thought frightened her more than the storm. She didn't move closer right away. Her heart beat faster, unsure if this was danger or coincidence. But there was something haunting in that silence. That posture wasn't one of sleep, it was collapse. Dieu Han felt her pulse quicken. She stepped forward slowly, shoes splashing in a shallow puddle. The figure didn't flinch. The world around them stayed still. Somewhere deep inside, Dieu Han already knew this wasn't a stranger. She bent forward slightly, careful not to make sudden noises. The woman's face slowly became clearer, drawn, pale, fragile. The clothes were thin and torn. Mud caked her sleeves. Her body looked defeated, almost weightless. Dieu Han didn't speak. She swallowed hard, unsure what to feel: fear, pity, sorrow. She could walk away, pretend it was nothing. But something in her refused to turn. Something remembered a day long ago, with herself in the same place. She bent forward slightly, careful not to make sudden noises. The woman's face slowly became clearer, drawn, pale, fragile. The clothes were thin and torn. Mud caked her sleeves. Her body looked defeated, almost weightless. Dieu Han didn't speak. She swallowed hard, unsure what to feel: fear, pity, sorrow. She could walk away, pretend it was nothing. But something in her refused to turn. Something remembered a day long ago, with herself in the same place. She stood still for a few seconds more, battling hesitation. Rain had stopped, but the air was heavy. thick with old memories. Dieu Han slowly exhaled and took a few more steps. She leaned down, gently calling out, "Are you okay?" Her voice was barely louder than the wind. No response. Not even a stir. She crouched slightly now, her face inches from the woman's but still didn't touch. Her hands clenched beside her knees. Finally, Dieu Han lowered herself to her knees. Her body trembled slightly, not from cold, but from the weight of emotion. She reached forward, fingers brushing aside the wet hair clinging to the woman's skin. Her hand hovered for a moment, then rested on the forehead. It was burning, a fever. Dieu Han's breath caught. This woman was sick, badly. Panic surged in her chest, but she kept calm. The woman needed help, not fear. Dieu Han whispered softly, "I'll help you, okay?" She looked around again, still no one. She couldn't wait. She bent lower, gently sliding her arm beneath the woman's shoulder, trying to lift without hurting. The woman groaned faintly, head lolling to the side. Dieu Han braced herself. She didn't have strength, but she had reason. And that was enough. Her arms strained as she shifted the woman upright. It wasn't graceful, but it worked. Bit by bit, she got her to stand, leaning heavily into Dieu Han's body. Every breath was a struggle, every movement fragile. Dieu Han held tighter, murmuring encouragement. She couldn't carry her, but she could walk with her, one step at a time. Daily had never felt so long, or so silent. And yet, in that silence, Dieu Han felt something awaken again. Step by step, Dieu Han led the woman toward her home. Her arms trembled, but she didn't stop. Every few seconds, she glanced at the woman's pale face, afraid she might collapse again. The road wasn't far, but it felt endless. When they reached her gate, she paused, breathing hard. She looked down at the woman beside her, barely conscious, feverish. "You're safe now," she whispered, pressing open the door with her foot. Dieu Han gently pushed the door shut behind them, careful not to make a sound. The weight of the woman in her arms made each step heavy, but she didn't stop. Inside the dim room, Dieu Han slowly led her to the small bed in the corner. She bent down, lowering the woman carefully onto the blanket. Her movements were slow, deliberate, as if fearing the woman might break if handled too roughly. The room was dim, filled with a faint scent of dried herbs. Dieu Han pulled the curtain slightly to let in some morning light. She looked down at the woman lying there, her face pale, her lips dry, her breathing uneven. There was something painfully familiar in her expression. Maybe it was the exhaustion, or maybe it was the silence. Either way, it stirred something deep in Dieu Han's chest, a quiet ache she didn't have time to explain. Dieu Han sat beside her, uncertain of what to do next. Her hands hovered awkwardly in the air before finally reaching out. She touched the woman's cheek, then her forehead, hot, burning. Her heart clenched. This wasn't just a cold night or hunger, this was something more serious. She sat back slightly, eyes fixed on the woman's face. So fragile, so alone. And yet, she was here now. Dieu Han was here. Maybe that counted for something. She reached out again, this time placing the back of her hand on the woman's neck. The heat was even more intense there. Dieu Han closed her eyes for a second, overwhelmed. Her own body still ached with fatigue, her head still heavy from the fever she hadn't shaken off. And yet, none of that mattered now. What mattered was this woman, sick, unconscious, and alone. She had to stay strong. Just a little longer. Her mind flashed back to moments she'd nearly collapsed herself. The empty rooms. The heavy silence. No one there to ask if she was okay. That kind of loneliness left marks. And now, this woman bore those same shadows. Dieu Han didn't know her story, but she didn't need to. Pain had a language of its own. And it was written clearly on this stranger's body. She leaned forward again and whispered, almost to herself, "You'll be safe now." Will this woman recover from her fever, or will her fragile body give in to the storm within? Dieu Han has done all she could for now, but sometimes, care isn't enough without hope. What would you do if you found someone like her, abandoned in the rain, burning with fever? Let us know in the comments. And don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell for the next chapter. Sometimes, the people we save are mirrors of who we once were, lost, tired, and desperate for warmth. Dieu Han sees something in this woman that reminds her of her own past. Will kindness be enough to heal a stranger's pain? Or is fate already written? If this happened in your life, would you stop to help or walk away? Leave your thoughts below and remember to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you won't miss what's next.